Flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners work session. It is, what is the date today?
13th.
November 13th, so 2023, just for the record. Today, we have Parks and Recreation's going to be doing a presentation, so take it away.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Parks and Recreation Department. So we thought we'd kick things off today with a presentation about Family Park. As you know, we have been working on this project for some time, really, when you go back to our master plan process. But over the last couple of months, we've been working diligently with MCP and HTK to come up with a design and that we think will eventually fit within the budget that we have set for this project. We've made several changes over the last few months, and while the design is still very familiar and pretty close to the original design that we did with the master plan, there have been some significant changes that we wanted to talk to you about today. I am going to turn this over to Zach and Lewis from HTK, and Pat Tolan is here from MCP. And then once they're done, all of us will be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Zach Sneathan, HDK Architects. Yeah, as Tim mentioned, we're excited about being here today to really showcase or show off the work that's gone into planning this first phase of the family park. As we work through the master plan, we envisioned a park with the county that was covered, I think, about 60-some acres of land out there between the Cypress Ridge Golf Course and the Midwest Health Aquatics Park there. Really, those are critical component or key components to this being family park, and this is kind of the first phase of development for the park. What you saw in the master plan was part of a much larger park development, but we're happy to really unveil and showcase some of the components that will be in the first phase, primarily centered around a pickleball complex and then a destination playground and just some good outdoor areas with that. Lewis is going to give talk through and share some images. These are images of the park as it is designed today, and talk about the components. And then Pat with MCP is going to round out and talk just briefly, give an overview of the budget, where we're at on that, and talk about the next steps moving forward with it. So. Or maybe you scroll. It's a just scroll.
There we go. All right, thank you very much. Like Zach said, I'm Lewis Weiser with HTK. Just want to start out giving just a thanks to everyone involved throughout this process. Tim and his team have been great, meeting weekly, really just getting down into the details, and been a great team to work with. Everyone on the design team also been great to work with, and as well as Pat with MCP and his crew. So as we get into this and kind of start thinking about the phase one of this project, it really comes down to a couple of key components that were kind of outlined and highlighted throughout the master plan process. The first one of those is the destination playground, shown as number one there on the plan. Really, that was something that was highlighted as being really important to the community, and has become kind of a key central component of this park. Number two is the pickleball. That was a vocal community and a really good community to work with, and they started out knowing their goals, knowing what they wanted. and really just jumped in and sort of gave us exactly what we needed to know to give them their pickleball courts. The restroom building is something that serves both pickleball and the playground, centrally located so that it can be used by both. That sidewalk connection to Urish, knowing that we do want to have some connection to the residential areas around the park. And then some ideas and options, and Pat will talk a little bit more about this, for some additional pieces that we could work in, as the budget allows, would be that shelter house that would kind of serve the pickleball for events, families picnicking, as well as using it for other things. And then that great lawn concept. So within this concept, there is that great lawn, but it doesn't have the full loop, and so that sidewalk loop is another thing that could be added as an alternate down the road. So as we got into designing this playground, it really came down to a few kind of key components, working with the Parks and Rec team, with our playground designers, AV Creative, and really just kind of highlighted, and a few things kind of rose to the top, that being inclusive play, so having things that people of all abilities, all ages, and all interests could find and have something to play on. A space for people of all ages, so a teen space, something that teens could go to and see some value in and some play value in. That younger play, knowing that there are kids who are going to be a little more hesitant and aren't necessarily going to want to climb to the top of a 30-foot tower, but giving them something to play on, and then something that gives them a challenge. So they may not go in day one and want to climb to the top of that tower, but really give them kind of stepping stones and things that they can kind of build up to as they get older and become more adventurous. And then just kind of the shape of all these things, and we kind of saw maybe half a dozen different options and designs, but really this sort of DNA shape kind of rose to the top and became something that we were interested in, and kind of had that organic, unique look that we really don't have anywhere else in Topeka. Just an overview of that park kind of has 3 distinct pods, kind of separating those areas of play. So on the left is the older play. It does have that DNA tower with the large slide, and then a lot of just connecting rope structures and slides and things that kids can climb under, climb on top of. Really just gives them a lot of opportunities for play. In the middle there, the blue is a port-in-place surface that is a more accessible surface. So this has the accessible merry-go-round, something that you can roll a wheelchair onto, that has a little trampoline, and then an accessible swing that you could use in various ways, as well as some kind of stepping stones and other ways to play. And then on the right is that kind of younger play area. So you have some mounds that would be in the turf, you have some accessible swings, and then some of that shorter, younger play structures for kids of that 2 to 5 age range. Then just some other views of that large DNA helix structure, just really showing off the height of that. I think it is impressive. It kind of, throughout the design process, went from 2 stories to 3 stories, and we're really happy to get that 3rd story. I think it adds a lot of value and a lot of interest. And then on the right, just kind of an image shows you in reality what that looks like. It has half a dozen kids on it, but you can load, I think they said, maybe 80 or not. I mean, you can get a lot of kids on that. It has a lot of play value. A couple more images, kind of looking back at that younger play area. This really highlights kind of that interconnected rope play. We have a little bit of this at Gage Park, and I think the feedback on that was that it's held up really well, and it's something that has a lot of play value. So really trying to incorporate that into the design. It has a lot of different ways you can play on it. You can climb, you can go under, and really just has a lot of value.
I have a question though.
Yeah.
That's probably a great picture right there. What's the safety components to this? I mean, you said it's a 3-story.
Mm-hmm.
You've got kids climbing on it. I mean, are we going to be worried about kids falling off a 3-story structure?
No. So this is, and you're right, this is a good image. So after that second story, the space in between these poles are actually filled with a mesh, so you can't climb on the outside of it. So you can climb up to a certain point on the outside, but then you're forced to go in. So you're not kind of climbing on the outside of that structure.
Okay. I just want to make sure that it's a safe structure for us.
Mm-hmm.
We always have to look at that from a liability standpoint.
Sure, yeah.
Insurability.
And all these are, designed to applicable standards, and this play surface is all designed to those standards as well. Another view of that tall structure. The slide has some viewing windows, so as you're going down it, you can kind of see the rest of the park. And then this image on the top left is kind of looking from the top of that structure down. Really, it showcases that height. So then kind of down to the younger play, like I said, you have that accessible swing structure, as well as some of those shorter pieces for those younger kids. And here's that port-in-place surface with those little mounds that kind of act as stepping stones. We have sort of this river that runs through the middle of that to add some play value as well.
That merry-go-round, you said that's accessible?
Mhm.
To what degree? I mean, you know, put a wheelchair on
Yeah,
there.
yeah, absolutely, you can. So if this image on the top left here has a girl in a wheelchair and then has seats as well, so you can roll on and then play on it.
How does it, is there wheel locks, or what keeps the wheelchair from?
I think it would require some kind of holding on of the chair, but you know, there's nothing built in that you know, you'd roll into and lock in.
And what about the outer edge of that merry-go-round?
Mm-hmm.
What do you have a gap between the?
It's probably a half inch or less. It's flush with the surfacing.
I've watched kids on merry-go-rounds for years, and a lot of times they just lay down on the floor and hang on to the side. Is that going to be a finger trap if they're hanging on to that while it's going around? And you have a gap that's supposed to be a half inch, and some places it may be less than that, and some places it may be more.
That's a good question. I don't know. I would anticipate that it's built to a tolerance that would keep your fingers from going into it, but something to look at.
And I had sort of gotten the impression this was not going to be like a full-speed 1980s merry-go-round either.
It's much smaller in diameter, but still, you got to look for pinch points.
Yeah, if they can do it, they will, I think yeah. That's a good question. We can look at that. So then pickleball being the second kind of key component to this. And like I said, that community is very vocal, and they know what they want, and they're great to work with. We had one meeting with them, and they gave us kind of imparted their wisdom, and really it was an easy process. So like I said, there was some community engagement. We went out to their Topeka Pickleball Association annual meeting, presented that, had great feedback, great response. Just I think kind of overall the court layout, they have a lot of opinions and desires on fencing and how the courts are set up next to each other. So it was good to get that feedback. So in looking at Family Park Pickleball, there's a total of 16 courts laid out 2 by 2 and kind of pods of 4. So those are post-tension courts with about a 25-foot concrete sidewalk in between that they can set up tents and have some space to view the games going on.
When you're setting up pickleball courts and you're looking at it, one of the chief complaints about pickleball is the sound of the pong as the hitting back and forth, and this is put into a residential neighborhood. I mean, we have to deal with all kinds of sound noises, even at the horseshoe pit, with people that live by horseshoe pits, hearing the clang of horseshoes. So are there going to be any accommodations for sound walls or screens or anything that can maybe down at our where the crossover tennis is at? You've got a lot of screening. I mean, I think that helps baffle some of the sound.
Knock some of that sound down. Yeah, there are going to be trees planted that will help with some of that, as well as some alternates for some screening that would provide windscreen, as well as I think some sound.
Mr. Mays.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would push back on that. It's not really a residential neighborhood. I mean, we've got Casey's across the street on one side, the golf course on the other, and then on the other.
Park to the west.
Yeah,
Just
Moore Park to the west.
with-
I mean,
with
there
the-
is a nursing home nearby, but
With the openness of the area, I'm just, with sound and traveling and just thinking ahead, I don't know what the experts say about pickleball. And I think this is probably an area where people are always trying to figure out how to make it better.
and I think that was part of the design of putting some space between the pickleball and the playground.
Yeah,
as
I think
well.
moving that as far west as we could to get away from those neighborhoods was a goal. And one thing I didn't mention, lighting, that was a big component of what they wanted, and so we're able to include that in this plan. Just a closer look at that kind of pot of 4 pickleball courts with openings in the fence. They don't like gates. It's a maintenance issue, and it's really just easier for them to walk right onto the court. And some benches, some seating. And then just kind of a view from those courts back to the park to really show the proximity of everything. So you're on the plan, it does kind of look like everything's separated, but really you're within a few minutes of the playground, about a couple seconds from the bathroom. So it's really all very connected. And that restroom building, kind of looking from that back to the pickleball, showing that proximity. I'll turn it over to Pat.
Thanks, Louis. Good morning, Pat Tolan with the MCP Group. I'll just give a brief update on the project from a budget standpoint. As Zach and Louis and Tim have mentioned, we've been working with Tim and his team as well as the designers the past several weeks to really hone in on a budget for the family park. Initially, we were over the $4 million mark, but we have worked together to massage the layouts and to get a very cost-efficient design. And currently, with the design that Louis has presented, we are at $3,857,694, so under that $4 million mark by a good amount. We do ultimately plan to bid some alternates for some additional elements that can be added to the project, depending on how those final numbers come in. So at this point, we feel good about where we're at from a budgetary standpoint. And again, you'll see the great lawn, sidewalk from Urish to the pickleball courts, a sidewalk from the restroom to Urish, and then a shelter house and some wood decking at the shelter house ceiling. So we'll bid those items as alternate costs. If numbers come in good, they can be added in. So that gives you some options there.
We have good sidewalk access from the parking lot to the pickleball, to the restroom, to the play structure, so.
They're all
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. I have talked, as you look at this budget, one thing I wanted to discuss, a couple things. One, you'll notice that we're not including the contingency in that budget. So I want to make sure that you're seeing that. I've talked to each of you individually about the possibility of maybe funding the contingency from a different source of money. I've yet to meet with Audit Finance to talk about that. I think that's really the next step. And then coming back to you and seeing if we think that's a reality. The other thing is that as far as next steps in this project, we really need to get this playground. I know we can't make these types of decisions in a work study or a study session, but we need to get this playground equipment ordered sooner rather than later. I think, what are we hearing? We're 4 to 5 months out. And we definitely don't want to wait and order this after the first of the year, because from everything we're hearing, then prices will go up. But what we would like to do, and if at all possible, is be able to come up here maybe as early as this Thursday and seek approval to do a payment, which I believe would include enough to order playground equipment and also cover some of the design fees, some of the work that's already been done.
Yeah, I mean, the design fees are really in the GMP.
Okay.
This would increase
Okay.
GMP to go ahead and put a down payment on that playground equipment so they can place the order.
Yeah, I'm sorry, not pay for it, but put the down payment on it so we can order it.
This play equipment, like that big structure, is that Berliner or what? Is
A lot of that is.
I think it is.
Berliner. Okay.
Yeah,
Reason I ask is, a lot of those things are not equal.
yeah,
Some of them, it's a lot of steel that has a cord wrapped around it,
Right.
kind of construction. Some of them, if one of those gets cut or destroyed, you have to buy a whole big net.
Mm-hmm.
Where Berliner, I believe you can get just the component
Right,
pieces to fix
right,
things if you need
right.
to.
I'm pretty
That's-
sure that DNA
that's
structure
pretty
is
huge.
Berliner.
It is,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think you brought up some interesting points. I just wanted to touch briefly on the safety of that equipment. That's something we have been discussing quite a bit. And when you talk about it being 3 stories tall, I know that really sounds like a lot, but I do think that what they've done in the design, you can't get very high up, about 10 feet on the outside, which is not uncommon. I think with the fall, everything will be within the fall zone, and we will have the proper safety surfacing. And then just to comment briefly on the sound of the pickleball, there's nothing you can really do to muffle that completely. So there will definitely be sound. But I think the location that we've picked is probably the best location for that. There's a lot of road noise there. There's a lot of traffic, so it's not a real quiet, serene area anyway. I imagine that it, hopefully it doesn't impact my drive on hole number 2 on Cypress, but we'll find out. So there but there will definitely be noise, so.
I notice there's a void of landscaping in there. Are you planning on doing that in-house? And
I think we'll have to, I really do. I would like to mention briefly, because we didn't really talk about it, and I think it's probably an expense that we haven't fully vetted yet, and that's seating. We didn't really show much seating in there. We had some discussions last week about trying to do something. We don't want to break the budget, so we'll probably be limited, at least initially. But we'll get some picnic tables and some benches and things out there, but ultimately we'd like to do some natural seating, some stone, some to make it a little more interesting as opposed to just throwing out a few picnic tables. But again, that'll be an additional cost that I think we'll need to figure out.
I think if we got some trees going along Urish, that would go a long ways
Yeah,
to kind of knock down some of that pickleball noise as well as road noise going into the park.
absolutely, absolutely.
And there are some already planted.
There
out
are.
Yeah, there's
There
some
are,
out
yeah,
there.
yeah.
They're not very big, though.
No. Time.
So I appreciate you getting it under the $4 million that we've talked about. I know that's a difficult thing to do. I did have a question, though, about the design. It appears that the playground is inside of the Great Lawn,
Yeah,
and I think, in my mind, it sort of defeats the purpose of the Great Lawn. And I kind of wonder if maybe we need to just consider scrapping that for now and moving it to a different place if
the
time
Great
and
Lawn
budget
itself.
allows.
Yeah,
But I wonder if, the whole purpose of that was to have a green space that people could play Frisbee and watch a live music or something, or,
yeah. I feel exactly the same way. I do. The reason that we moved, and you guys can interject if I'm wrong, but the reason we moved it was that the slope of the ground from the parking lot down to the Great Lawn was causing us to have to do a lot of dirt work, and also the flow of water from that parking lot and making sure we didn't disturb that so that it continued to go to Cypress Ridge and fill those ponds. It just, from a cost standpoint, it made a lot of sense. And really, it's what caused us to get under that $4 million mark, I believe, moving it down, moving it a little further away from the parking lot. Unfortunately, that put it right smack dab in the middle of our Great Lawn. So we did discuss this internally, and I think that we could, if we wanted to, sort of scrap the Great Lawn in that location and do a Great Lawn below, but that would definitely then be another phase. I don't think we could do that entire part in this phase, but there is room there to do it underneath, below the playground and the bathroom. There is room there without infringing on parts of the other master plan that we're not tackling right now, which is that road that would run through the park, and then a new clubhouse for Cypress Ridge and some parking. So it could be done, but
and I'm not criticizing that at all. I think that moving it up to save, I mean, quite a bit of money in the drainage, I think makes total sense. I just wonder if maybe having the Great Lawn concept in that same location doesn't, it no longer seems like the thing to do. But, you know, I think a sidewalk around the playground makes sense, because parents can walk and still see their kids, and if some little brother's got a tricycle or something, they can ride around in a circle while everybody's playing, and I think that makes sense. But I think the concept of the green space is kind of no longer relevant in this design. But not that that's a terrible thing, I just think maybe we need to not consider that at this point.
Yeah, I think to add to that, because we did have quite a bit of debate about, you know, because this was the semblance of the Great Lawn, that oval shape there, and when we moved this in there, it was predicated on trying to maintain a lot of the stormwater utility. There's probably about $300,000 that we saved in not having to redo underground piping and kind of redoing all that stormwater business that's over there. And we moved that playground into that Great Lawn oval. I do think that there is it's a different concept of the Great Lawn than what it was before, in that it still has a kind of a lawn area here, flanked with the shelter house up here, and kind of maybe a little bit more tighter connection between the playground area and the Great Lawn. One thing that, you know, that as Tim mentioned, that Great Lawn there is room to expand that down into this area without impacting future phases, whether it be a golf Cypress Ridge clubhouse, a road, parking lot, other components that were part of that master plan. So I think, or as we have it shown right now, this lighter gray is not in the budget. It would be bid as an alternate, and it could be, you know, it could be expanded upon and made that Great Lawn circle larger. I think it's not conceived as a soccer field or sports field. It's really a kind of a multi-purpose lawn area. The idea that maybe you could pull the stage up here and have concert, live music, or something out there was some of the ideas behind it. So I think there is still, it's different than what was in the master plan. I think there is still a Great Lawn per se. I don't remember how big that area actually is. A little over an acre.
Bigger than the original.
So we've kind of stretched this oval out a little bit as the playground came into it.
I guess I just sort of look at it and I think, you know, if we were to do that as a second phase, that if there were an event there, people would have to basically cut through the playground to get to it. And, you know, I don't know how parents would feel about that, you know, if it were a larger event or something like that. So,
Yeah.
I don't know, something to think about. Obviously, this is, I mean, we're closer to a final design than we ever were, but it is a design build process, so modifications can still be made. So something to take into consideration. The other thing is, you know, did we think about putting the shelter and like attaching it to the restrooms there, kind of in where that number 3 is? It looks like you could probably move to the south with it, and then it'd be kind of shared between the playground and the pickleball.
Where is the restroom now?
The restroom building's up here. So we looked at, because that was where we started, was a shelter house that had a restroom, restrooms attached to it on one end. And we had quite a bit of discussions back and forth about how that's used and how you might rent out those shelters, and trying to keep the restrooms separate so that people coming and going to the restrooms aren't interrupting if somebody's renting out the shelter house. We placed it here so that we wanted to keep it connected with the playground, or closer to the playground area if you had birthday parties. In this scenario, when everything moved a little bit more centrally located, the shelter house and is really easily connected to both the pickleball courts and the playground area, as well as kind of setting a covered area for, you know, if you did have an event, whether it be music or something going on in the Great Lawn area, that you could set up in the shelter house for, and kind of view the activities there.
Okay. I can see how nobody wants to kick someone out of the shelter house when they have it reserved and you show up and there's another family already there.
The pickleball courts, you said you have lighting for all that. Do we have any expanded, just area lighting for the playground area, or is that just future, or?
I'm not sure if it's in the plan now, it is. We do, as part of the pickleball lights, have on, I believe, you can maybe even see one of the, I don't know how accurate this is, but you can see one of the poles here.
Yeah, there are 4 poles.
Yeah, there's one right here, and that one would have some lighting on the backside that would face that direction. I don't know how well that will light all of that, but that is the only lighting that we're showing.
Tim, do we have lighting on that parking lot, existing lighting? I don't recall.
I don't know. I do not know.
I think
So,
there's,
I can't remember.
Assuming we do, but I don't remember.
I can try and drive by there.
All right.
It's not on the perimeter, but it's in the parking zone.
Yeah, okay.
I think lighting is pretty important for vandalism, for, you know, that kind of thing as well, just the security of the people there at night. As we know, right now, it's 70 degrees outside today, but it's gonna get dark at 5:30. So, I mean, it would be a good night to have lighting on a playground, so. Will there be any water fountains or anything near the playground? I mean, are we running plumbing there, or is it just gonna be at the restrooms?
there's a water fountain just at the restroom
Okay.
building, and that was in the, as we evaluated the budget, and that was a savings that we saw in not running water and sanitary sewer out to the playground. But with the playground right here, it's a pretty, it's on this end of the restroom building, and so it's a pretty close shot to drinking fountains.
So, your utility extension, like, where'd your sewer line have to come from for that?
The sewer is, I believe, runs through here. So,
To the street?
yeah, I don't remember which direction it goes from there, but our sewer connection is right along here.
And those water fountains, is it pretty typical now to put in like bottle filling stations and stuff, and not necessarily the kind that you gotta stick your face on?
Yeah, I believe it's a fixture that, it's an outdoor, kind of park rated fixture.
Okay.
But it should have a bottle filler in it.
Okay.
As well as fountain and maybe even a dog bowl, spigot.
Zach, do you have any concern with the length of space between the pickleball courts and the restroom? I mean, I envision that 5 years from now, we're gonna have a lot of complaints that the restrooms are too far from the pickleball courts and that they wish that they were closer. And I know that's a silly thing to ask, but if you were to pull number 3 down about half the distance,
Could be done. You're just talking pulling it into this area here.
yeah,
It's pretty close as it is. I mean, that's what, 150 feet or so?
I understand that, but
Little kids and older people, when they gotta go, they gotta go.
those were your words.
Well, so
Words to live by.
I would say that the pickleball people are, I don't know how often they communicate with you guys, but they're gonna be happy with any kind of a permanent fixture restroom, because the portable potties that they have now are not really, they leave a little bit to be desired.
And again, I'm anticipating that 5 years from now, they're gonna be lobbying for their own clubhouse.
perhaps.
Yeah, we'll see.
Possibly. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that with the placement of the restrooms, we face them towards the parking lot. That's partly for, just a security standpoint. You can drive by and you can see what's, whether doors are propped open or, anything like that. And they're also maybe more accessible off the parking lot, for parents before they kind of go into the either playground area or the pickleball courts.
Yeah, in the Parks and Rec world, that's really close to have restrooms that close to your court or the playground. I think most people would be happy with that. How wide are your sidewalks running around? Are they like
The
6?
Great Lawns, or this sidewalk is 10 feet and these others are 6 or 8? Yeah, 6
Sounds
foot.
good.
And this one here, we tried to create some kind of little nodes along the sidewalk that, as Tim mentioned, there are some kind of stone blocks in there that can be used for kind of informal seating areas. There are, and then benches around the playground area as well.
Yep. Currently, we have a sign out there that says Midwest Aquatic Center. What do we have for a street sign along there?
Oh, we have a marquee there.
You have a marquee?
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Does it say Family Park or is it?
It doesn't, it says Midwest Health Aquatic Center, but
Family
and
Park.
we can tweak that.
Tweak it, I
Yeah.
think it'd be good just to
I
identify
really-
it.
Yeah, I really like the idea of sort of branding that whole area as Family Park, Midwest Health Aquatic Center at Family Park,
Yeah.
Cypress Ridge Golf Course at Family Park. Because then you're really creating, I think, this incredible park that not only has what we're talking about today, but it has an aquatic center and a golf course. And how awesome is that?
Right.
Look how far ahead we are of the game. We already have the golf course and the aquatic center.
It's a pretty good start.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have any other questions.
Real quick, the little line that kind of goes around the backside of the playground there, what is that? Is that
This
curbing or is that like a fence or?
This right here?
Yeah,
It is it's a curb.
Okay.
Probably 8 or 12 inches wide. This is synthetic turf, poured in place rubber, synthetic turf, and then that would all be natural grass
Okay.
out there. So it's to bound all of those surfaces.
okay, cool.
In the future, would you see an area where you could have adult fitness, a little?
Yeah, we actually had, I'm not sure what we're showing in the plan right now.
Yeah, this area here.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had some designs for kind of call it a Ninja Warrior course through there, and some kind of more adult but more kind of teen and adult type, whether it be fitness equipment or kind of fitness type equipment.
There's actually even some grants available for 50/50 grants for something like that.
There are, and honestly, those features that Zach's talking about were relatively affordable.
Yep.
It's something we might be able to do at the future phase without worrying about trying to bond it or any of that. It's just part of continued
Right.
park development.
I've got some ideas on that, so
Yeah.
that maybe, I think I might possibly know where we get the 50% match for a grant like that.
Awesome.
That would be good.
Do
So, all right.
it. Okay.
Any other questions?
Nope, not from me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you,
guys.
guys, appreciate it. Well, now for part 2 here. You had asked us to come up and do something on, recreation programming. And which I really appreciate you guys bringing this up and asking us to do that. I think that we talk so much about parks and green space and the things that we're doing there that we sometimes don't talk too much about what we do from a recreation programming standpoint.
Yeah, that works.
So I think if you hit the space bar, you should be able. So we don't talk too much about what we do from a recreation programming standpoint, and really, it's a lot. I don't know why we don't come up here and touch on it more. So I've got Josh Mikey here as our recreation superintendent, and I think Josh is going to kick us off, and we'll go from there.
Morning, Commissioners. Josh Mikey, Parks and Recreation. As Tim said, this is kind of, what we put together is kind of a year-end, kind of how the year went, where we're headed, kind of some things that are coming up. I believe Sean handed out this presentation to you as well as some other goodies. But I'm going to open up here. I also have Sean Osborne and Dustin White here. They're the recreation managers. They're the ones working day to day with the supervisors that are coming up, running these things, working every day in the recreation field in the division. So they're working in the centers, they're working in the parks, they're the parts of the program, they're the sports, aquatics, shelters. All told, under the division, these are the highlights that we'll hit today, and this is what these guys do every day. So we're talking, like I said, athletics, aquatics, shelters, rec programming, Old Prairie Town, Ward Mead, Great Overland Station, Gage Park amenities, summer camps, the rec centers themselves, and also the golf courses. All those things fall under the division, and that these guys are working with their staff daily to come up with and improve. I will highlight that a lot of this will show, and we'll talk about where we've been with COVID and where we're actually coming back. We're still not, we're on our way up, and you'll see those things as we talk about it. But and we're coming up with new things all the time, and we're trying new things to get the community involved, and offering new programs for them, as well as continuing the big things. Some of the improvements we've made. Invista softball turf. There's some things we'll talk about that's allowed us to do now, allowing us to move some stuff from Bettis over, that we're able to have softball and baseball. Also, some events that we've been able to awarded and hosted here that Sean will talk about. The facilities themselves, taking care of gyms, gym floors, the rec centers, all that's under this division. So without wasting any more time, I'll get Sean up here and he'll talk about his three, the aquatics, athletics, and shelters.
Just spacebar. I got you. Okay. Good morning, Shawn Osborne, Parks and Recreation. Feel free to stop me on any slide that I have of questions that you guys might have, or concerns, or anything that you want to ask. With the athletic division, I'm not going to read through every single one, but I do feel that a lot of our complexes that we have here are comparable to what they have in any other part of Kansas. We are making improvements. Obviously, you guys have given us the power to help out and get Bettis back up to where it needs to be, which is great. That complex, I believe, was built back in 2009 and 10, so obviously it's seen its fair share. Within the athletic part and the youth, I would like to highlight Derek Mead, who is our youth sports person. He has kind of taken things to a next level. He also, he just got back from Baltimore, which was in our NAYS program. He's taken the youth sports soccer. As you guys can see with this, our soccer has increased. And right now we're kind of looking for a different place to actually play soccer within the county in different locations. Estimated, we had 72 individual leagues in total, 4,500 youth participants. So overall, our youth sports has grown compared to what we've had. The adult athletics, Michael has done a great job with this. We roughly have 650 teams that participated in the adult sports leagues in 2023. An estimated 5,500 league participants. Any questions on the youth or the adult side of stuff?
No.
And then some of the athletic achievements that Josh was talking about. Obviously, We had USA softball, Sunflower State games take place with us each year. They utilize the Bettis complex and various parts that we have throughout the park. The 2023 USA softball men's Class D, and in '24 we'll have the men's Class E national tournament at Ruger, and then we also hosted the MIAA Conference Championship and in the National Junior College Conference Championship. And correct me if I'm wrong, but what's the one we have coming up? 3A. Yeah, Kansas State High School, we have the 3A state championship that'll be coming our way too, which it might, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the first one we've had in Topeka that has taken place here, which is a really great asset, and hopefully we can continue that. Looking down the road in the athletic part, we're looking to do some different things, some 3-on-3, basketball, host more special events for specific populations such as veterans and Special Olympics, modernize current programs and policies and procedures, and we're always looking to grow and expand the smaller adult leagues such as kickball and soccer. We have any questions on the sports stuff that we have? Okay. I'll move into the shelter part that we have. We had a pretty good year for 2023. Like Josh said, I think part of it is we have a lot more people that are, if you will, coming back out to do things of family and stuff, and we're getting past the COVID portion of it. We've had some improvements along the way. Shelter 6 got some improvements and some updates, and so did Shelter 3. We replaced the deck, redid some mulch beds, and in Shelter 6, obviously the trim, the windows. Garfield replaced the roof and different things along that. And this will show you year-round shelter revenue numbers, seasonally operated shelter and revenue. A lot of people don't know, but we're basically open 364 or 361 days a year with our shelters. So we do cater during some of our holidays and some of our different things. And we have shelters that range from 200 people all the way down to about 25 people. And then our Lake Shawnee campground, which you guys have already been out there and toured. We've had great reviews. A lot of people have commented to Shayla, that's my wife, Kayla, sorry, excuse me, Kayla's staff, that they just thoroughly enjoy every single part of the campground that we have done. We look and hope that we can do some renovations to the other side of the campground. Obviously, we know we need to have money to go into that side, but everything seems to be a win at the campground right now. And then our aquatics. This past year, we did do very well with aquatics. We had a few things that came up at the beginning of the season. Obviously, we worked through those and got those fixed and everything. But on the, basically on the side with the seasonal workers, we had enough people to manage everything. We had enough people to do it. I would like to thank Jonathan and Audit Finance with the whole thing of allowing us to be able to hire the 15-year-olds for lifeguards. That has helped out tremendously. They have added to the staff, and actually we have found out that the majority of the 15-year-olds do come back when they're 16. It's the ones that are 18, that are 19 that we have a challenge with sometimes because they're like, wow, I can go get a better job or I can do this. But for the most part, our aquatics did a really good job. Oh, sorry. To go back, just we are looking to add and replace a couple features at Adventure Cove. We had a slide that we've had there for quite a while, but the slide is starting to deteriorate, and we've had to take that one down. So we're looking to replace that with a smaller slide and maybe add an additional thing. I will mind you that the Adventure Cove is the first time it's been fully opened the whole entire year since its conception. which has been great. And we did do really well with revenue at Adventure Cove. And I will turn that over to you.
I just want to touch base on some of Sean's too. You know, athletics, shelters, aquatics. Aquatics, we had a really pretty good year from an operations standpoint. Our lifeguards, I feel safe in saying we're one of the few entities around that never had any issues of where, oh my God, are we going to open today because we don't have guards. This year, Zach did a great job. Zach Kanicki did a great job recruiting, training, hiring, and scheduling our guards. So credit to him and Sean for that. I hope that in the future we have that few problems. It was nice not having to come in and worry about opening pools because we didn't have guards. Sports, in Vista, I want to highlight the turf too. Sean brought up the Kansas State High School Athletic Association, the 3A state title, or state tournament. That's kind of a big deal for Topeka. Acacia is located in Topeka, yet they don't have a championship here. Basketball moved away from the Stormont Vale, I don't know how many years ago, 5A used to be there. So this is the first one to come back. I think that's a credit to the facility and having it in the shape it is. We met with Jeremy out there as the executive, or one of the vice presidents at Acacia, and he didn't even know it was there. He didn't know what we had done. So they were more than eager to bring that back to us, and hopefully more in the future. So just some of those things. Shelters, as Sean said, coming back from COVID, we're seeing those numbers grow. So we're putting more back into those shelters, whether it's cleaning crew, some projects, things like that. All that will help make that a very popular amenity that a lot of other places don't have. And we, like he said, 361 days of the year, we are available in most shelters. So that's a big thing. So next, Dustin White. So he's over rec programming, Old Prairie Town, Ward Mead, Great Overland Station, day camps, rec centers. So all that, he'll go over the rest of that. So.
Dustin White, Parks and Recreation. I'd like to start by going over sort of the demographics of the folks that we serve, just to highlight what we're accomplishing with recreation programming. We've got programs that are serving folks from really 0 to 95 years old that are attending on a regular basis. Your average age of participants, 32 and a half, and we're really almost down the middle with 57% female, 43% male. And the programs that we offer really cover a lot of different categories. We've got 166 unique programs running every year with 338 total sessions. And what that means is that if a program were to repeat, we'll have more sessions of that specific program. So some of our most popular ones like Zumba, karate, yoga, things like that will run on a continual basis. And we're serving over 10,000 participants in Shawnee County every year. And this is one that I'm really proud of. We're moving through 23 different centers and parks. So we're really encompassing not just the community centers, not just these small spaces, but taking programming to Shawnee County residents, going to where they live, and trying to get into communities that maybe don't have access to a community center or don't have transportation, so that we can really serve as many people as possible. In terms of participation, this is our breakdown of who does what. The primary group that we serve are youth. And then within this, it doesn't break it out. Our adaptive community exists within youth, within adult, within preschool, within senior. Right now, I'm really happy to say that we are actively working with both the senior and the adaptive population to expand those offerings. We're doing community engagement with different groups within the adaptive community and listening to them. One of our most successful with that group was to start offering adaptive bingo, something that seems so simple but wasn't available. And all of a sudden we went from 5 or 6 participants to 40 in about 3 weeks. And with that 40 participant number, we're actually expanding it, moving it into other centers, and reaching more and doing something that is really exciting for them. Our senior programs, this one, I always try to kind of put a caveat on it, because senior programming on in our descriptions is very specific, but seniors participate in a lot of programs. Our fitness and wellness it skews senior. So this doesn't really tell the whole story about how big senior programming is, but we can always improve. And so we're working with different groups to ask, what do you want? And where should we offer it? What times of day should we offer it? So that we can provide those affordable, exciting programs for Shawnee County residents. And I really wanted to include this to show COVID and how it impacted us. In 2019, we were serving almost 12,000 opportunities to almost 11,000 participants, and our revenue was right around $121,000. And you can see in 2020 the massive hit that we took in terms of both participation and revenue, and then the climb back over the years. Right now, revenue isn't our main focus. We're working to improve revenue, and this is year to date. I do think that we're going to surpass last year's revenue numbers, but I do really want to highlight that we are above in opportunities and near in number of participants that we were in 2019. And I kind of used that number, that 2019 number, as a benchmark. That's the one I'm trying to surpass. Beating the year before, that's great, but when we get back to full operating is when I'll be really excited, and when we start to really move past those numbers is when it'll be a super successful division. The Rec and Roll Van is a really unique component of the programming division. This map that you see shows all the locations that we took it this year. We did 13 different community events, so we were out almost every single weekend, and then 7 additional rentals for birthday parties or community events at churches, things like that. And we keep track of how many people we're able to contact when we're out. We just kind of keep a tally. And so we talked to 6,870 different community members at these events. We go to our events. We go out to like Spirit of Kansas or different parks, things like that. But we also spend time up in Noto for First Fridays and go around to try and catch people where they are and bring the park to them. Old Prairie Town and Ward Mead. This slide doesn't really do the site justice. It's one that I've been really excited to take on because it's so unique and it's so special to Topeka. The revenue and the attendance for our 2 main events, you can see there, they have waned a little bit from COVID numbers because it was one of the first, or post-COVID, one of the first times people could get back outside. But the big number to highlight is that volunteer hour, that 2,994 hours. And I really want to emphasize the work that the volunteers do there. Without them, that site wouldn't exist in the way that it does, and they add so much to it. I get the privilege to go out and work with those folks on a regular basis, and I sort of make a point to spend time out there because it's super fun, and the history is incredible, and it's a hidden gem in Topeka that so many people don't know about. Right now, we're really working on ways to expand the offerings of what Old Prairie Town has to make it more inviting for more people. We're looking at the programs that we offer, and we're looking at how we can program that park to draw the crowd that would really enjoy it. So when you look at these numbers, you'll see the breakdown of our Potwin Drug Store, the Mulvane General Store, our tours and our rentals, and you can kind of see from 2021 on that they've stayed pretty consistent, but I think that it has a lot more potential than what most people give it credit for. And I do think that by programming the site and giving folks a reason to come out, like our Pickin' on the Prairie on Sundays, the different classes like painting in the park that we're offering there, we can really make it special and get more people to experience the history of Topeka that may otherwise never see it. Great Overland Station is another super unique site, and it's one that it's been a little bit of a challenge to figure out the best way to operate it, the best way to utilize it to its full potential. General revenue has climbed, and it is climbing, and our rental revenue has stayed pretty consistent from year to year. But this site has a lot of potential for things that other parks and rec sites don't, because of the size and because of the parking lot, the amenities that it offers, it can really do more than just be a rental site. And so that's what we've focused on with it. This year we received, Parks for All received a grant of $5,000 for STEAM programs that we're planning on using to offer educational opportunities to kids to come out and learn about trains and about Topeka's history, about railroads, all in the building on spring break and winter breaks and summer breaks. And then we're also looking at developing a friends group, sort of like what Friends of Ward Mead is, to help support the site and give it that extra emphasis that Friends of Ward Mead does for Ward Mead and Old Prairie Town. But the events are really what I think makes Great Overland special. This year, our historic Crestview Craft Show is moving, and it's going to Great Overland Station, and it was one that I was really nervous about because I wanted it to be successful. And the response that we got from our vendors and the speed at which they filled those slots really put me at ease. We have 57 slots and they're already full. They were full a couple weeks ago. The number of different vendors coming out for that and the things that we're offering are going to make that event much larger and I think much more inviting for the citizens of Shawnee County than it ever has been before. We're doing free crafts for kids so that families can come out, shop, and also create crafts. We're going to have some local vendors providing different beverages and items for purchase, and then we also have some live music that's going to be happening during that event as well. So I think it's going to be a really special and hopefully long time Topeka tradition, and we're tying it in directly with NODO. We've got their support and we're supporting them, trying to get businesses into that area, as well as the Miracle on Kansas Avenue. So that'll run directly after the craft show. So folks can come to that district, the downtown and NODO district, and really spend an entire day on December 2nd shopping, eating, and then seeing the parade. The Comic-Con, Station 9 3/4, our First Fridays and the art show or other community events that we're bringing more people into the building through, and unique events that don't exist in Topeka otherwise. So they've been really exciting to see grow. This year they have all reached the revenue stage, which is exciting. When you start something new, you want to see it start to produce revenue and not cost any money. And so they have all reached that point, and we see a lot of potential to grow those with the folks that have come out for them already. The mini train and carousel, this has been another really fun one to get involved with. I've only been with the department a little over a year, and I made a point to go through the training to drive the mini train myself because I wanted to understand exactly how it operates and know the trials and tribulations that the drivers deal with, and be able to help in the event of a driver shortage or something like that. This new mini train has been phenomenal. Training on it literally takes hours rather than days or weeks. I was able to go through an entire training in a day and feel completely comfortable operating the train. Super simple, super reliable. It's been phenomenal. The attendance for the train is up this year, and I think that speaks to both the reliability of it and also what a major component it is to the folks of Shawnee County. They love the train. They come out for it on a regular basis. I've ridden that train when it is near 40 degrees, and it's hard. It's cold for the driver, but we're still filling trains and we're still running it. People are still excited for it. And our revenue is up, even though we went ahead and offered it for free during spring break, which is one of our major events every year when we open it for the first time in the season. And then with the carousel and the mini train both, I'm going to credit Josh Mikey with this. We're looking at creating a comprehensive package with our rentals out there so that we can really utilize them for birthday parties or events and start to tie those pieces together to make Gage Park and those amenities a lot more appealing. It becomes something that somebody can rent, let's say the carousel party room, and have the carousel as part of that package so that, it's another unique amenity that you can't find anywhere else in Topeka. And summer camps can be dense. These charts are hard to kind of work through, but what we're really looking at are revenue and enrollment every week. And I think that the story here is that we're running around 500 camper slots per week and historically operating at over 90% full. Our summer camps are incredibly popular. I personally send my kids to summer camp all year long, and I love the fact that they get to spend time in the parks and they get attention and certified instructors taking care of them. I feel really comfortable having them there. And the fact that we're running 1.122 million hours of camp activities every summer is just mind-blowing to me. That is the total number of campers multiplied by the total number of hours we run each summer. And for the number of camps and campers that we run, I think Clay Neal really does a phenomenal job operating those. Because as somebody coming in and taking that on this year, I had a lot of hesitation, but then seeing the way Clay operates, it totally wiped that for me. He has it completely dialed. He is everywhere doing everything, and I have no idea how he pulls it off, but year after year he does, and he's done a phenomenal job with it. In our recreation centers, this graph on my right, the check-ins, it's an interesting story because obviously in 2019 we weren't checking in 835 people. But what we were doing is starting to track the people who came to our community centers. And that's something that I think Jess Rakestraw really started. And now we have checked in 25,000 people this year. What that does for us is tells us who's coming and what they're doing in the community centers. So every Shawnee County resident is given a free membership to our community centers. All they have to do is come in and give us their information. We give them a card, and they're able to use the community centers, the computer labs, the games that we have in the lobbies, and access all those pieces for free anytime that we're open. We try to be open, as much as we possibly can, including opening Garfield Community Center after having it closed for a year just due to lack of attendance and lack of staff to run the center. We finally got it to a point where it's operating regular hours, and the buy-in from the community to take these cards and check into the center really gives us the opportunity to look at that data. And I'm really a data-driven person. I want to be able to know what's being used so that we can put emphasis on it. We know that our seniors are loving pitch. We need more card games. Or the adaptive community is currently underserved because although they're coming to the community center, we aren't offering activities for them to take part in. And this has gone a long ways towards being able to print reports and know exactly what's happening, and also track trends. If we see a large dip in a time, or we see a large rise in the time that people want to attend, it's understanding that we should offer more and that we should provide more, maybe extend hours or change hours, and being able to make those decisions with data rather than just the gut feeling is super important to me. And then our revenue, the community centers obviously aren't a revenue driver, but it's always nice to be able to track that and see what's working well and what's not, where people are attending. Hillcrest is probably one of our primary centers. We have a lot of attendance there, and so I use that too as a sort of a benchmark when we look at other community centers and what amenities it should offer and how it should be designed. I like to look at Hillcrest and say what works really well there and what doesn't. I'll turn it back over to, unless you have any questions that I can answer about.
I did have a question.
Sure.
Great Overland Station, what is this Station 9 3/4 Fantasy Fair? What is that, the comic books? Harry Potter?
So the
Okay.
Fantasy Fair, if you're
I'm
familiar
out of
with
touch.
a Renaissance Fair, Renaissance fairs are super popular, and Kansas has a great Renaissance Fair. It happens in Kansas City every year. 9 3/4 is a comparable event that focuses more on fantasy. So rather than just the historical medieval type fair, it caters more towards Harry Potter and different fandoms, things like that. So it's a more of a magical event. Kids and families tend to love it.
All right, thank you.
I have a question real quick.
Sure.
In terms of the rental revenue, I noticed Great Overland Station's rental revenue is only 19,000.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, that's less than Westlake Shelter House.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a reason for that? I assumed that would be quite a bit more,
Yeah.
just because it's such a grandiose venue.
It is. The rentals for Great Overland Station, we're really renting to weddings and large events, and there are a lot of competing buildings and spaces to rent for those events. I think that because when we rent Great Overland Station, we're renting the entire building, it also gives us a small window. You know, we have 52 weekends a year, but then when you take out holidays, we end up with a very short season for rentals there. So it's one of those that I would love to see grow personally, and I think that looking at our fees and the way we operate that space will help us increase that revenue. Because I personally think that Great Overland should make significantly more money in rentals than what it currently does.
Do you recall what we made during that dinosaur zoo that we brought in? That
Neither of us were here. I don't know. John may even be able to.
Yeah, I think John might, if anybody does.
even ballpark?
Yeah, I do remember the total, I don't remember the total. I think we were.
It was, if I recall correctly, it was about 250,000. I
Yeah.
think we made, what, 100,000 at the gift shop, and then maybe 150 at the.
Yeah, that's gross.
That's gross.
Well, but then also, we did have some expense, but a lot of the expense was covered, some of the expense was covered by visit fee.
Yeah.
We can get you those numbers.
We'll dig those.
I
numbers.
just wondered if maybe that's a better
Well,
better road to travel.
Dustin mentioned, you know, one of the first steps, you know, we've been here just over a year now, and fees. I think we're here this month, actually, we're looking at our fees and addressing where we're at. We do a lot of market analysis on our spaces, shelter, all our fees, and this is one big one that we really need to look at for what we're charging for the rentals. There is a balance to events and rentals that we're making, you know, having to make those decisions. Weekends, obviously, like you said, prime, because that's wedding time. That's that type of facility. We're always looking for ways to market the facility to other groups to have other things. And again, that's part of market analysis. So that would be the first step. Beyond that, the events that we're hosting there, we're tracking those too, and the impact that it's having. Because a lot of the folks that are attending these aren't Shawnee County. They're coming from a lot of places. I don't have that information. Mark provided, there was, I think it was a Comic-Con or 9 3/4, one of them, there was 9 different states that were represented in that event. People would come from 9 different states. So that's to take into account too a little bit in regards to Great Overland. But I think the first step is evaluating the rental fees this year, and we are in the process of doing that.
I would look at traveling exhibits too. We kind of hit the sweet spot with that dinosaur exhibit because it was kind of a dead time of year,
Yeah.
January, February, March in there. But
And it was kind of one of the first ones back after COVID
right.
too, that
And
people really were.
they don't want to bring the same one back.
Yeah,
year after
no,
year.
no,
That'd
no.
be a-
And, you know, Mark and his staff are doing a good job of Great Overland Station Railroad. They're looking at ideas there too, for displays and events to charge admission to. So those ideas are coming up. We're always open to those and continue.
Okay.
I do want to credit Dustin and his staff. One of the first things that we did we made some structural changes in his division to help allow those guys to grow things. Our outdoor programming, you didn't mention a lot of it, but our nature programming is really taken off. A lot of the new programs that we have, credit to Dustin and Devin Cooper, they've really kind of taken those and ran. And we have a lot of unique things in the county, a lot of, Lake Shawnee, Burnett's Mound. I mean, I think she had a tornado talk at Burnett's Mound, different things up at Shawnee North. We have a lot of unique places that we can program, more unique than any other Parks and Rec agencies do. And I think we're just starting to get into that stuff. So I do want to credit Dustin and his staff for that, because their challenge has been come up with the new things. Try them. Let's see what we can get more people out and involved in. And I think the numbers are starting to show that. So.
I happened to catch one of Debbie's presentations up on the mound, tornadoes. And it was as good as anything you'd hit from a national park system. It was very good.
The stuff that she's been able to bring into us has been great, and we're trying to make it to where we can allow for not just her, but that entire division to do those types of things. And again, I like to credit her and Dustin for that, because they're coming up with these ideas. I'm not the creative type, but it takes those types of folks to come up with them and try them and get people to buy in. And then we gotta market them and get them out so people know that they're going on. But anyway, that kind of wraps up Dustin. Do you have any more questions on his side real fast?
I do. So a couple things. I noticed the wreck and roll rentals was only rented 7 times. I mean, that seems like something that, as a parent, like, had I known about that when my kids were a little younger, I mean, that would have been a perfect birthday party.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that getting that information out there is one of the key parts. It's that marketing component, because it is such a unique thing. We can bring it out anywhere, set it up, and really what we're doing, because after seeing we had 7 rentals with it, is evaluating that whole wreck and roll van and saying, what could this be? What is it now and what could it be? And how can we communicate that to people? Staffing it has been one of the challenges. I don't think people realize how fun it is to run that. And so sometimes finding staff that want to go out and run the wreck and roll van has been a challenge, and that has impacted rentals. But really, we're looking at the van and saying, we've got a state-of-the-art sound system in it. We've got 110 volt power in the van. We can run the van self-sustaining for up to 6 hours. It can just sit and play. And so why can't it be an outdoor movie theater that we take out to Family Park on the Great Lawn, or do drive-in movies, or do these special events with it? And I think that getting it out in the public and then letting people know that it is available are the 2 parts that will make that really take off. But it's so much fun. I mean, I run it on certain days just because it gives me an excuse to get out of the office and go play games. But yeah, super fun component to it.
Also and I know that you weren't here, but I noticed the revenue numbers in 2021 were way higher when our usage was like 20% of what it is now.
That was an anomaly that I couldn't tease out. I was looking at my reports and trying to figure out the exact why on that, and I don't have a clear answer for why we were running $100,000 in revenue and only 2,100 participants. My guess is that the participant data is less than accurate, because to have revenue that high and have participant tracking that low, it just seems off to me. So I can't tell you exactly why that is, but I am looking at that too, because I saw.
Okay, it jumped off the page at me when I was like, wow, that's.
It doesn't make any
whatever
sense.
we did that year, let's duplicate
Exactly.
that.
And that's what I was searching for, is what was the thing that happened in 2021, but really there wasn't anything that was out of the norm. And so
Besides COVID.
Besides
I mean,
COVID, yeah, exactly.
But, okay.
Yep.
Well, and I think you pointed out too, one of the goals here, number 1 is the number of participants and offerings being the primary goal, because that'll drive the last number. If we could get the participants in and get them to buy into our stuff, then they do more, and that'll drive the last number. So, and they're doing a great job of that.
We spend a lot of time trying to come up with affordable opportunities as well. The revenue is important, don't get me wrong. We need to be able to support our programs financially, but being able to offer low-cost programming to families and to the citizens of Shawnee County is super important to us as well. So I love seeing the number of participants continue to climb, and then, like Josh says, see those numbers of revenue follow that.
I agree with you. I mean, I think having it remain affordable is great, but I mean, the revenue goes up with the more participants.
Exactly.
Regardless of what you charge. But I did have a couple other questions here. It said that the yacht club is a seasonal rental. Is that only available for part of the year?
The yacht club, the building itself.
Yeah, the yacht club rental building.
Talk about that.
The reason why that one is a seasonal rental is because it does not have a bathroom with it. And the bathroom that's closest to it, we actually close, because it does not have a heating element. That's why it's a seasonal.
Okay, I was unaware of that. That's.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
And then the other thing is on the aquatics. Would it be possible to get, a couple of years ago, we had gotten a report that broke down the numbers on a per pool basis. Is it possible to get something like that again? I mean, obviously not today, but
Yeah, we can send that to
Yeah,
you.
we have that. We didn't add it here just to kind of give a bigger, broader picture.
yeah, it just helps me know like where it's got the staffing, the attendance and everything like that, so. Okay.
And Dustin touched on a couple of things, some of the plans moving forward too. I know we go back to Gage Park, with that fund that's there. I know we're working through the master plan right now and where the carousel, the train fit into that. One of the goals for the carousel room is to get it heated, HVAC, so that's a year-round amenity. Right now, it's not available in the winter months, and as anybody with kids under the age of 5 know, that would be a great thing to have on a
Right.
weekend in the winter. So we're working on ideas and projects for that, where it fits in the Gage Park master plan. So that is something that'll be an added amenity in the future. The wreck and roll van, talking about those updates too, trying to find some sort of sponsor for that. I mean, just different ways to fund those upgrades that we can use them in the community. And they're doing a great job with that. The other thing that's not on here that I did want to mention too is the partnerships that these guys help manage too. Whether it's Boys and Girls Club, It Takes a Village, swimming, TSA, swimming, Charlotte, the swimming programming that's going on in our pools. These guys help manage those partnerships to use our amenities, and so that also falls on their plate. I don't want that to go off the radar. So
What about our theater camp? Is that still operated by Civic
Helen
Theater?
Hawker, are you talking about Helen Hawker?
Yeah,
Yes, Topeka Civic Theater.
and they still have their summer camps and all
Yeah,
that.
production
Yes, that-
That
workshop.
was pretty popular.
That's a very popular. Last one here, this is the last slide. The golf courses also fall under ours. And I just wanted to put this in here just to highlight how good of a year they had. This is the first time, according to Carrie and the department, that I could find that the revenue for the course eclipsed 2 million in the revolving fund. Now, keep in mind, these two courses run in a revolving fund, Lake Shawnee and Cypress. Forbes does not. We're over 80,000 rounds this year to date. And if we keep having weather like today, that number's only gonna climb. This year, we spent around $384,000 on capital projects, so we're showing that money's going back into the course. Making those improvements, including, we had a pump controller go out, that was a big expense, but limestone to the first tee, concrete path, new tee boxes, bunker renovation's a big one, and then sod replacement. I know at Lake Shawnee, we had a rough winter last year with zoysia. So it struggled to come out of the winter kill, we had a lot of winter kills, so we kind of played catch up all year. We've got a good plan going into the winter and spring this upcoming year to get us off on the right foot so that the courses will be in good shape. And then I also want to thank Brian Cole too, the jail crew. We've been able to utilize them on the golf courses, helping our maintenance crew clear like shoreline out at Lake Shawnee. If you've been out there recently, you'd realize that all the shoreline that had been overgrown, now you're on the course, you can actually see the lake, and it's a really cool amenity to have, because that's what, as Tim says, that's what puts that course, that's the unique thing, it's the lake. And we want to see it wherever we can, and because of their ability to help, we're able to do that cost effectively and really, really get a good product out of it. And we've gotten a lot of compliments, and the courses are running in a good spot, so.
Great.
With that is all I had, so. Do you have any other questions for him?
No, I'm fine. Thank you very much.
Before we break, and I know we've been here a while, but I just wanted to thank staff for coming down here and putting that together. You guys do a great job, and we have really pushed this a lot, and they have really responded, and kudos to you. Thanks for all your hard work.
Oh, thanks. I'd like to thank staff too. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of thankless work sometimes, and people don't realize how tough it is. You're herding cats sometimes and that work.
Yeah, and, you know, you talked about the non-traditional 8 to 5. Recreation isn't 8 to 5. It's a lot of 5 to 10 weekends. Like, that's a lot of what these guys do. They're not working in the office all the time. They're out running the van, playing games, or out at the pool the night before trying to get it ready, make sure we're staffed, the concessions, you know, all that stuff, tournaments. The staff does a great job. I think that needs to be noticed and noted, that of the time away from their families is spent for it, so.
Yeah.
But it is a fun job, that's why it's recommended.
Well, this is valuable information. I appreciate it. This is the kind of stuff that we don't, you know, if you don't ask for it, you don't get it. And so it's good to know what's going on, so that number one, if somebody asks us, we have a pretty good answer for them without tracking you guys down. So thank you. Appreciate this. I'm glad that these work sessions happen, because I mean, this is something that couldn't have happened in a regular meeting. So.
Great. So, all right, well, does anyone else have anything they want to talk about? Is there any, we have no one from the public here, but I don't know if any other staff members, anything else to say? This is your chance. All right, well, then, we're adjourned. Thank you for coming.